Welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Denise DiCarlo. Well, it's budget time here in Albany, and among the many cuts proposed in the governor's budget for the 2010-2011 fiscal year is cuts to the corrections system, and that may mean closing several prisons in New York State. Today we're going to talk about one of those possible prison closures, and that's the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility. We're going to discuss that today with Assemblywoman Addie Russell from the 118th Assembly District, which includes Jefferson and St. Lawrence counties. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's talk a little bit about what the governor is doing in the budget as far as corrections is concerned and the general impact.
Well, the main piece is that the governor is proposing to close down 4 facilities, 4 prisons. Ogdensburg Correctional Facility in my district, as well as Lion Mountain, Butler, and also Moriah Shock. And what's interesting is that all of these prisons are in what downstaters call upstate, but 3 of them are in the North Country and 1 is in Western New York.
Now, not only is this is more of an economic impact to the area because there's a lot of people who are employed at these facilities in those areas.
It absolutely is, and the reason given by the Corrections Department, mainly is that the facilities are located so far away from New York City, where a majority of the inmates come from, that's the justification for targeting northern and western facilities. I wonder why we're not taking into consideration all of the employees who are going to be displaced and what the impact to their families is going to be when they have to spend even more time away from their families to work.
I would think in the businesses around there too, people running out for lunch or stopping for a cup of coffee on the way to work, or they're affected as well.
Yes, we have directly, we would lose 287 jobs at the Ogdensburg prison. That is difficult in and of itself. That's a $22 million a year payroll. But the ripple effects are what's really going to really continue to devastate the community for several years. Those people that go to work every day aren't going to buy a cup of coffee. They're not going to gas up. They're not going to grab their lunch from someplace. All these small businesses are going to lose a $22 million payroll that helps to support them. In addition, we're going to have people leaving the area because they're not going to want to stick it out in the North Country to hope that they get back home to an even fewer number of slots. So property values are going to plummet, which is already an issue in the North Country anyway, not having a particularly strong housing market. And another problems, it's just also going to really hurt the spirit of our community. You look for a bright spot, or even just moving along in some sort of a positive fashion. This is just going to crush our spirit if it happens.
Right, when a lot of people lose their jobs. I grew up in Schenectady, and General Electric was there. And every time GE cut, 500,000 jobs, everybody was just like, oh.
Well, that's interesting you talk about that, because in the St. Lawrence County, we've had our GM plant close in neighboring Messina. We've also seen the scale back at our Alcoa smelting plant. One of them has been shut down temporarily. So we have already, fresh off of these horrible downsizings, and this just exacerbates the situation. We have one of the highest unemployment rates in St. Lawrence County in the entire state, and likely in the nation. And this is just going to it's the wrong place to make the cut. It's the wrong place when we're trying to get more jobs in this jobless recovery to be killing jobs by doing things like closing major facilities that the state runs.
Now, I understand there was a rally held to try to help keep the facility open, because at this point it's just the governor's proposal. It's not a done deal.
Yes, I hosted a town forum, and the purpose of that town forum was to get the personal stories. I had one young woman talk about wanting her father to be there before she graduated from college, to be able to be at her high school events and to be able to see him every night. And another gentleman who's a corrections officer talked about the day he found out that he was going to be transferred back home, and how that was one of the happiest days in his life that he can remember. Those are just, we've also had a huge rally just a couple of days ago in Ogdensburg. There were over 2,000 people at the rally.
That's amazing.
It was broad-based. It was corrections officers and their families. It was business people. It was community leaders, it was concerned citizens. It was wonderful, and I think we are sending a very strong message that we have to push back this proposed cut.
Now, you talked earlier about the ripple effect just within the North Country. What about the ripple effect on the correction system in general? I mean, if you're closing 4 facilities, there's prisoners housed in these facilities. They got to go someplace.
There's the effect on other corrections officers in that, first of all, there's going to be fewer slots for people to return home. We have so many members of residents in the North Country that are corrections officers, and it's going to take them, it already takes about 8 years from when they go in corrections to get transferred back to their, where they came from originally, back up north. This is just going to add years and years onto that. There's about 7,000 people on a transfer list, and 6,000 of those want to come to the North Country or to Western New York, upstate as we get termed as a whole. But another problem is closing these facilities is going to create a hazardous work environment for these corrections officers. The state is double bunking. They're warehousing inmates. There are very small areas where they're now going to be putting, increasingly more, going to be putting 2 people in a very small, close quarters. That's not a very good living environment. And there's outbursts. There's going to be an impact from that. And the same number of corrections officers is going to be asked to guard them. So more people in a more tense environment, it's not good for corrections officers, and it's not good for inmates if you are concerned about that, like some of my colleagues are.